Do you spend a lot of time daydreaming? Are you someone who's considered highly imaginative? If so, you might be an INFP. This Myers-Briggs personality type is known for being highly creative and having a rich inner life. Just look at famous INPs like J.K. Rowling or William Shakespeare to see this in action. But how do you know if this type truly matches your personality? Today on Charisma, we're going to look at the 6 clear signs you're a true INFP. First, let's look at the makeup of the INFP, nicknamed the Mediator. This type's personality comes from 4 dimensions. Dimension 1, Introversion, I. If you've ever felt like you could sleep for a week after going to a party, you know what it's like to be introverted. Introverts gain energy from being alone and often feel the need to recharge their batteries after big social gatherings. Dimension 2, Intuition, N. J.K. Rowling and William Shakespeare's creativity didn't come out of nowhere. In fact, it was likely due to their second dimension being intuition. This means that INFPs are imaginative and focused on abstract ideas. Dimension 3, Feeling, F. The third dimension means that emotions and feelings dictate how INFPs process things and make decisions. While the rational side might play some role in forming conclusions, it's not the primary force. Dimension 4, Perceiving, P. If you're a go-with-the-flow, spontaneous type who dislikes rigid schedules and routines, chances are you have perceiving as your 4th dimension. So, what are the clear signs you're a true INFP? Number 1, you're authentic. If you've ever met someone who was constantly sugarcoating things, over-exaggerating, or telling white lies, chances are they weren't an INFP. INFPs are the polar opposite, as they're authentic to the core. If you're an INFP, the reason you have such a desire to be authentic is in large part due to what's called your external intuition. This means that your brain processes facts and patterns and searches for hidden meanings in the world. In other words, you have a natural drive to separate the truth from lies and to seek out what's authentic. This genuine nature manifests in several ways for you. For one, it means that you rarely do things that don't feel quote-unquote right. For instance, you likely are one of the last people to cave under peer pressure if something went against your values. When it comes to relationships, your authenticity also comes into play. As an INFP, you probably disdain small talk or discussing shallow topics as they don't feel like a genuine form of conversation to you. Instead, you gravitate towards people who want to discuss complex subject matters and who don't put on a front out of an attempt to be liked. Lastly, your authenticity means that you rarely follow the status quo. While your peers may have followed traditional career or life paths, you probably have always been the one to go against the grain if that feels more truthful to you. Number 2, you're committed to your vision. Has anyone ever told you that you see the world through rose-colored glasses? If you're an INFP, you've probably been told many times that you're unrealistic. However, you usually don't let this stop you. Instead, you forge on ahead with your ideas and view of the world, casting naysayers aside. Just think of famous INFP J.K. Rowling. Her first Harry Potter book was rejected by over 12 different publishers because they didn't think that it would sell well. But even though they told her she was being unrealistic, J.K. Rowling didn't let that stop her. Because she had on the optimistic, rose-colored glasses worn by many INFPs, J.K. Rowling eventually found a publisher for Harry Potter and went on to become one of the wealthiest authors in the entire world. Like J.K. Rowling, you've probably been called unrealistic before. However, you just see the world in terms of possibilities instead of problems, and you don't let rules or conventional wisdom stop you from pursuing your goals. Number 3, you're not judgmental. Are you someone who rarely gossips? Do others feel comfortable telling you their secrets? If your answer to both of these is yes, this is a sign you might be an INFP. INFPs are one of the most open-minded of the Myers-Briggs types. In fact, this is part of what has earned them the Mediator nickname. That's because as an INFP, you're always open to hearing 2 sides of the story without prematurely passing judgment on either side. Instead, your empathy allows you to put yourself in the shoes of practically anyone and to be able to see their point of view. As a result of this, others feel comfortable coming to you with their problems. You might even find that complete strangers have a tendency to open up to you. But it's not just in everyday life that your compassion and ability to be non-judgmental comes into play. INFPs are often drawn to careers that lean on these skills like social work, psychology, or education. And because they practice open-mindedness in their day-to-day life, INFPs often excel at these professions. Number 4, you need purpose. Some people plod through life working a traditional 9 to 5, living in the same town as their parents and spending weekends doing activities their friends want to do, and they're happy doing that. While there's nothing inherently wrong with that, it's the total opposite of the life an INFP strives for. If you're an INFP, you search for purpose in everything that you do. A life without purpose is, to you, a life not worth living. This surprises many non-INFPs, as they often think this personality type isn't purpose-driven at all because of how imaginative they are. In fact, they view them as fanciful people caught up in their daydreams and disconnected from the realities of the world. However, this couldn't be further from the truth. Because INFPs connect so deeply with others and are highly empathetic, they actually have a strong desire to improve the world. As an INFP, you could probably care less about material gains and instead care more about making a concrete, positive impact. This might be through your career, relationships with friends and family, or merely how you carry yourself when interacting with strangers. And because as an INFP, you spend so much of your time in your head, without purpose in your life, you may drive yourself crazy with thoughts of what you should be doing instead. Number 5, you daydream. If you've ever built an entire sci-fi world in your head or played out your future in vivid detail, you know what it's like to be an INFP. In fact, daydreaming is one of the key markers of INFPs. This personality is known for being one of the most imaginative types, as they prefer to spend more of their time inside their heads than in the real world. They're gifted at creating rich inner worlds, which is often why this type ends up in creative professions like writing or storytelling. And while other types might consider daydreaming to be a waste of time, to you, it's as essential as eating or sleeping. That's because you use daydreaming not only as an escape from reality, but also as a valuable skill in many of the careers you might find yourself in as an INFP. For instance, if you're working as a psychologist, your imagination might help you think of solutions to help a particular patient. Or, as a writer, your ability to jump in and out of daydreams can enable you to construct vivid stories. Number 6, you're spontaneous. Remember when we said that INFPs have perceiving as their fourth dimension? This means that if you're an INFP, you're spontaneous, flexible, and prefer to have variety in your day-to-day life. Unlike those with a judging dimension, you disdain routine and don't always see the merit in being overly organized. You're someone, for instance, who would likely feel stuck in a regular 9-to-5 job. While some types find comfort in the discipline of getting up at the same time every day and following a daily routine, you find such schedules to be stifling, especially to your creative mind. Indeed, your creativity is part stimulated by your sporadic schedule. You feel most comfortable when your daily life reflects the ebbs and flows of your creative mind. For instance, one week you might find yourself getting up early and the next week staying up late. Or you might go weeks without doing household chores and then one day decide to do them all at once. Your spontaneity doesn't only apply to your day-to-day life, however. It also applies to your relationships. You're likely someone who has canceled plans at the last minute before. However, you don't do this out of any malice towards the person you've canceled on. Instead, you are just open and receptive to new opportunities. And if a more inspiring plan presents itself, you wouldn't hesitate to cancel on pre-existing plans. That's because to you, inspiration produces more gains than rigidity. Want to know which superhero aligns with the INFP? Watch this video to learn which one.